Welcome back to the Burstamo Music Marketing Podcast. This episode actually comes from someone following on our Q&A who said unfortunately they missed out on the Q&A and didn't get their question in. So they asked about music PR companies and when is the best to hire music PR companies. So we thought we'd just do it in the next episode. I think it's a good topic. It comes up a lot and there clearly is still a big industry in music PR.
Yeah.
So should we start with just what is music PR?
Yeah, I think people see it as a kind of overall thing that covers anything to do with music promotion, which it's not. Music PR isn't the same as kind of a digital marketing agency. They don't really cover much of the social media side of things. It's more sort of the traditional side. Obviously, that's changed over time because music PR in the past did used to be focusing on just magazines and stuff, whereas now it's more online. But I think that's kind of what they do cover, online, getting it in magazines. Some of them cover radio plugging as well, not all of them. But it's changed quite a bit over the years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, but it depends where you are in your career as well.
Yeah.
Like, if you are at the top end of music PR, it's different. You don't really need to push out a big artist all of the time. But what you do need to do is sometimes control their public perception. It is literally just how the public perceives you. So if something bad happens with an artist, then you probably want to control public opinion by having press releases that go out and save their career, save their public image. And then you've got the other side of it where it's PR for a small emerging artist and you're trying to get them in those blogs and magazines alongside those big artists to really launch their career and get people talking about them.
Yeah, I think with large artists, they have full-time publicists. They have a PR that works with them constantly because they need to be monitoring the press that they're getting. They need to be making sure that it's got the best image for them. So someone like Taylor Swift, she's got a publicist all the time and they need to make sure they need to sift through all the content that's going out about her, make sure that it's the right kind of image, and then kind of follow up on that press, either pitching something more. They have that full-time PR, whereas for emerging artists, it's a different story entirely. They have them usually for a set amount of time per release. And in the past, that would be purely because you'd want to get in a magazine. You'd want to be in NME. You'd want to be in Kerrang magazine. Whereas now, that's a little bit different. Everything's about blogs. Everything's about getting that online coverage, getting that online presence. And I think that's why it's a bit worrying for artists because paying for a PR is sort of so speculative.
Incredibly, And then when you go to a PR company, you can't possibly say what press you're going to get because it's someone else's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that getting a music PR company is kind of essential at some point in your career because what we've found is online blogs add that credibility. So they don't work the same as they used to. You would get a magazine feature or a blog feature and that would get you kind of listeners, that would get you fans. But now because there's just so many blogs, there's so many artists, those places don't exactly translate immediately into those things, but they act as credibility. So they help with your Spotify for Artists submission. They help kind of with your EPK if you have it mentioned in your bio. If you're going to labels as well, they do want to see that if they Google your name, something's coming up.
Exactly.
And I think what a PR is there for now has completely changed.
It started it was so different. Like back in the day, if you had like a train journey or a car journey to go on and you needed some form of entertainment for that car journey, you would look at the magazine rack and your interest would be music. And you've probably been sitting watching music channels all day and then decide you want to read about those artists and what's going on.
Yeah, I would literally keep the Kerrang magazines. I'd pile them up. I had them, NME, Q. Now, I mean, NME's out of print. Q, you can't really get a good chance as emerging artist unless you've kind of got something to stand on.
And then the internet came along and then they tried to go to blogs and it did work for a long time. People would go to NME and read what they had to say, check out new artists, and then I'd say it's the nature of the internet changed. So the internet became very fast-paced. It became like people only gave things like 3 seconds of their attention, and you got like clickbait headlines, and music blogs just couldn't compete saying like there has been a new release by this artist wasn't enough to get the attention. So I think that it has declined in terms of the traffic.
But as we said though, it still has its purposes.
Yeah.
And so if you're kind of looking at, you've just released a single and you found that you might get support from kind of a few radio stations, you might get support from your regional press, and then you release your next single, that's when you might be looking at kind of getting a PR on board. But it might be worth us talking about how you get that PR on board, who to work with, how to find the best ones, because there are so many. If you type in music PR into Google, you are bombarded with companies, some legitimate, some not legitimate, some that are perfect for your style, some that aren't. And I think that's the key thing. You need to find a company that specialises in your genre and specialise in the level you're at, because there is no point working with a company that say to you, we've worked with the Kinks, we've worked with Nickelback.
Basically just they have a roster from like 30 years ago and it just doesn't work in 2019, because we always say if you're going to work with a music PR company, or any music promotion company for that matter, ask what they've achieved in the last 3 months with a client. What has been something they are incredibly proud of, which I could achieve with a campaign? And if they can't answer that and send you pieces of press or things that have happened in the last 3 months, the chances are they're kind of resting on their reputation, and they're kind of just ticking along and just kind of taking money from artists and getting them on a few blogs.
You'll find that a lot say, well, we've worked with X, Y, and Z. And that's great. That's fantastic. It shows that they're credible, that they have those artists on their roster. But you need to go in with, okay, cool. Who have you worked with that's similar to me? Who have you worked with that's on a similar level to me? What did they get? And is that relevant to me, basically? Because so often you will see something that is your dream. If you're seeing a PR company working with Taylor Swift and they're doing an amazing job, you think that's going to happen to you, but it's not. You're in a different level entirely. So I think that's the main thing, looking for case studies, looking for that proof of success, but then also looking for testimonials. So you can either go directly to the artist, you can message them on Facebook or Instagram and just say, what are your thoughts on this company? I'm talking to them. Or you can kind of see if they've got any Google reviews, any Facebook reviews, because those people are kind of the best ones.
Feel free to reach out to their artists and see what they have to say. People do it to us, and it just happens, really. People reach out to our artists all the time asking for
one thing I would suggest though is like, don't start reviewing this company until they've actually accepted you.
That's true,
not every single company is going to take you, and it might seem like a shock, because if you're paying a company, you think, well, they're going to take anyone because they want my money, but they don't. If you're a good company that is getting a lot of inquiries, a lot of artists want to work with you, you're going to take a very small percentage. So if you like a company, don't immediately start kind of going out to those artists being like, what are they like, how much do they cost? Ask the company first, see if they will come back to you, because a lot of the best companies don't always go back to everyone, and if they do, it's not always an immediate yes or no.
And you've got to trust the company before you start working with them. If you don't trust them from the very beginning, then you're not going to work with them. You're constantly going to be questioning them, because there is no way of you seeing behind the scenes how hard someone is working on your campaign. You will always think, cool, they got me this, and this, but they can do better. You don't know that they were up all night getting you those things, and that was the best you can possibly get. And you have to always trust them and work with them and like them as people.
I was going to say that. Make sure you actually like them as people. And that's why I think it's really important to actually either meet them or do a call with them. We do a call with absolutely everyone we work with, even if we're kind of not moving forward just yet, because you need to have that relationship. You need to have that vibe where you trust each other, but you also get on, because there's no point working with someone you really just don't like or don't vibe well with, because if you're paying them to do something and you're a little bit bitter because you don't like them, you're not going to enjoy the campaign, and you should be loving every minute of it. If you're paying a really large amount of money, it should be so exciting. You should be feeling like you're developing with a team, and I think that's why it's important to actually kind of get to know the people you're working with.
And there's several types of companies as well. There's music PR companies who have been going for many years, big roster. You've got freelancers who, there's absolutely nothing wrong with going with a freelancer. Sometimes they're absolutely amazing because they've got small roster, not too expensive, and they take you on as a passion project. And thirdly, you can do it yourself. So we do so many videos on how to do it yourself, and that can be just as effective. Like we speak to so many artists who said, I started working with a PR company and then finished the campaign and actually did the rest myself and did a better job.
Yeah, I think that's really important as well. But I think there's a kind of few things. If you like the company, you have a call with them, their price is okay for you, and we'll talk about pricing after, I'd say. And then there are a few things you should ask. So case studies is one,
Yep.
but also their reporting system. It's quite a strange one, this, because for us, it makes sense that you should report to the person weekly, as often as you can, really. But there are some agencies that don't. And if they don't report to you kind of with a full kind of PDF or Word document weekly, what are they going to give you? Is that going to be a call a week? Is that going to be a report a month? Ask them how they report to you, because you don't want to pay them money and then sit back and think, what are they actually doing?
And there's a flip side of that as well, and that's artists sometimes, like if it's a Tuesday or midweek, you really want an update and you want to know what's going on and you want to know who they're speaking with, what's in the pipeline, and you email them for an update. And let's be honest, nothing's ever that confirmed in the middle of the week. Usually it happens towards the end.
Yeah.
So it is quite stressful for the PR company when you're asking for updates midweek and they want to be able to send you stuff that is confirmed. And it's especially worse if you've got something slightly confirmed. Say Clash are possibly going to run it and then it falls through. And usually the PR company would just tell you that they declined, and you don't want to tell them this might happen, and you get your hopes up and it didn't happen, and then you blame the PR company for not getting it when they didn't really want to put it into a possibility in the first place.
Yeah, I completely agree. So reporting is one thing they should be checking. Case studies. Should we talk about pricing?
Pricing, yeah. I mean, we can go through the three different types as well there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the pricing depends on kind of the experience of the company and also what they're offering you. If they're kind of just doing online press, or they might be doing radio plugging within that, or some companies call themselves PR companies, but they're actually kind of doing more digital marketing, which is a full 360 package, which is going to be more expensive. But it all depends on kind of the agency's experience, who they've got on their roster, and how long they're working with you for. Because at the end of the day, you're paying to work with professionals. You're not specifically really paying for like a specific service. It's more the time period. So if they feel like a release needs 3 months, they probably are being truthful with that and need 3 months, rather than just saying, yeah, we can get money out of them for that amount of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are companies that do that.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to gauge that from a phone call or meeting someone. But I would say average price you're looking at for a PR campaign is like $1,000 minimum.
Yeah.
And for a lot of artists, that seems really expensive, and that's why we do these videos. You can do it yourself, but there will be a point you get to where you probably do need assistance from a PR team.
Yeah, and just to interrupt there, like always, every PR company has a price.
Yeah.
So don't let someone ask for your budget, for example, and then you go back with something high, and then it turns out you get the same service if you'd gone in at 25% of that amount. That is just kind of a dirty tactic of the music industry, and we really don't recommend it. Everyone has their price. Everyone knows how much time and effort it's going to take to get you to the next level and get your to achieve your press. So always push for a price and ask what you want and what the price it would be and if it's achievable.
Yeah. Also, if they give you a price and it is out of your budget, don't try and negotiate, but do see if there's a way that you can kind of either shorten that timeline or perhaps ask them if there's a certain amount of time spent on them. It kind of can be lessened. If you really want to work with this PR team, see if there's something you can do, and if they like you enough and they think the music is really strong, they might be able to negotiate a little bit. It does happen, but obviously not all agencies can do that.
On the timelines, I think negotiating on asking for exactly the same service but less.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You can't do it if you're buying.
They're that price for a reason. Yeah,
exactly.
You wouldn't go into kind of a clothes store. You wouldn't go into Topshop and say, "I want this T-shirt for £10 or less." If they've got this product, you can't sort of. It's offensive in a way
because that's what they think their time is worth.
Yeah,
they're telling you that's what I think my time is worth, and then you going back is saying, "I don't think your time is worth that."
You shouldn't work at that agency. No.
And what will end up happening is you get less somewhere else, and you get less where it makes it easy for them. So I would find a price that works for you and that they are happy with, because at the end of the day, they might be happy with the price you've agreed on that day. Come 2 weeks into your campaign and it's not going too well, and they need to pull an all-nighter to get it out and make sure that you've got a good campaign and you've negotiated the price. They're not going to have that same drive.
Also ask how the payment works. Some people can allow you to pay in really kind of good installments, like weekly or bi-weekly. Others want it all up front. Others want it 50-50. But if you're paying all up front, maybe ask for a contract or something, because that can be a little bit risky, because sometimes you might spend a couple of grand even all in one, and that's a very big risk if you don't know the agency well enough, you don't kind of know anyone that's worked with them personally. So in those situations, I'd get a contract, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else we wanted to discuss with?
I think that's it. I mean, it's about finding the right PR company for you. We've mentioned that. Simply just Google it, go on the Unsigned Guide, and also look at freelancers. If someone seems particularly passionate about your project, if someone reaches out to you, don't write them off. There's so many good freelancers out there that we know. And they can do such a good job because they've got such a small roster. And when they go out to that press, then because they've got that small good roster, they're going to get their emails opened as well, instead of a huge PR company that has 40 clients and all 40 are going into that inbox.
I think that's actually one final thing before we end. If you do get an email from an agency that you're, or kind of anyone in the industry, that you're thinking, I'm unsure about this, there are groups on Facebook that are specifically made for these sort of things. So there's one that we're on called Advice, or like
Advice/Blacklist.
And it basically, it's interesting because you can see what companies are legitimate, which aren't, which people in the industry you should avoid, which are amazing to work with.
That's true.
And people basically post in it saying, what are these guys like? And you don't even need to post in it. You can sometimes just search a company name into a Facebook group like that. I think we'll tag this, this Facebook page. It's a group, and we'll tag it below if you're watching this in a YouTube video. And it's really interesting. You can search a company name and see what they're like. And the good ones, they sometimes aren't on that page because they've done such a good job that no one really feels the need to. But if they are, all the feedback's amazing. So you'll be able to tell kind of within a few seconds of looking what they're like. So we'll definitely put that below.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for watching. We'll end it there. If you're listening, thanks for listening, and do subscribe because we're uploading one of these every single week. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. 3 times a week we're uploading on there, and we'll see you in the next one.